You want to kick it off? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? What's
Hello.
going on, Luca Nation?
Got a little
How you
background
doing?
music going on here. I like it.
You do? I have
Little,
Barcelona Atletico Madrid as my background music. I love one of my favorite traditions is waking up and watching soccer because there's no other sport that's really on, 8, 9, 10 a.m. on the weekends, and you get to just lay in bed, sit on the couch, drink your coffee, and watch good soccer. And today we're blessed. We have Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid playing for the La Liga trophy, La Liga Championship. They're right neck and neck. I think 76 points and 74 points with just a few games to go. So it's so exciting. Cage, my play today might be one of my favorite plays that I've ever
by the
brought.
way, I think Atletico is going to take it because the other team is all Barca and no Bida.
Atletico struggles to win at
Oh,
Barcelona,
that's
but
not a
this
good thing.
Atletico team is really good. No, this
By the way,
Atletico team is really
if
good,
if the
and
first
their
thing they
coach is
say
a
about
nutcase.
first thing people who watch you say about your team is you struggle to win, that's probably not a good thing.
You
They
struggle to win
struggle to
at
win.
Barcelona, at Camp Nou. So like home and away is a big deal in soccer, and I think Atletico hasn't won at Camp Nou in maybe 5, 6 matches. It's hard. It's hard to win away. That's just how soccer works. But Atletico has this awesome manager. His name is Diego Simeone. He's just a nutcase. The whole game, he's just running up and down the sideline, just amping the team up.
So is that in their
So
heads? Like, why is it hard to win away? Especially like now with like the stadiums, they're not like completely full, right? So like it's not total home field advantage kind of stuff, right? So why is it?
you know what? I always ask that question, and there's not actually a good reason. It's just it's always been that way. So, like in Champs League, the tiebreaker is you get 2 goals for every one away goal because it's so hard to win away.
Well, I mean,
I think you're
is it
out of
because
your
these guys are
element, and
younger? Yeah. Are
you're out
soccer
of your
teams supposedly
element.
younger? Like, so the travel's tougher for them and stuff. I mean, is that part of it? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't watch it.
I'd be curious to hear what Luca Nation says about this. Like, why do you think it's so hard? And Demo, he's our content creator. He watches soccer all the time. Why is it so hard to win away? I think not only are they younger, they're traveling, all that. The pitch is different, the grass is different, the field is different, the periphery, the dimensions are different. Uh, because it's actually a really big rule of soccer that doesn't apply to like basketball as much. Winning away in basketball isn't a big deal. Winning away in NFL is a big deal, but that's because of the fans, right?
Yeah,
So
like in Seattle, where like the 12th man plays a big role and that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously crowd noise makes it harder to call plays and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I get it. You know, it's funny in baseball. I can understand it, and this is an analysis I give. If a team is smart, so baseball is one of these weird sports. First of all, it's boring. Second of all, there's another no hitter yesterday, and they've like basically made it like completely no offense. What made the game come back to life was steroids and home runs, leaving the park at a crazy rate. Everyone was like enthralled by it. We were, wow, home runs, McGuire, Sosa, you name it. And it was power, power, power. And obviously the pitching stats were pretty terrible because, Barry Bonds came out there and either walked or hit a home run. McGuire was hitting 60 home runs. They were breaking records. This year, like the batting average is horrible. People are pitching no-hitters like crazy. The game is slower and boring and the whole deal. But on the point, what's weird about it is a football field, right? Football field's 100 yards, right? You can have outside different stuff, but you got 100 yards, you name it, right? A tennis court has defined dimensions, right? What's in, what's out, you name it, right? I mean, most sports have that. A soccer pitch, yeah, you can have different kind of grass, but the dimensions of it are the dimensions of it, right? Baseball, yeah, it's 90 feet between each base. But other than that, every stadium's different. They got different gaps. Straightaway center's a different distance. Right field line. The Yankee Stadium has this short right field porch. So you can actually attempt to build a team around your stadium. You know what I mean? Like when the Mets first built Citi Field, they built these like cavernous gaps, and they were going to build it to their pitchers, right? And their speeds. You had doubles and triples, and Jose Reyes was there, and it didn't actually work because David Wright just become a guy who should be hitting 40 home runs, but hit the balls in a warning track every single time. But what's funny about it is like that I would get, right? Like if you told me, okay, the pitch, like we got fast guys, so we're gonna mow the lawn differently. We're not gonna cut, like
They
our
do.
fast guys, like we're gonna really shave the grass. So
They
it's like
do.
running on turf.
And water the grass. They water the grass before the game too.
So
Some places different
I
than
guess
others.
but I mean, like baseball, you could really, I think, do it because you can mess with the dimensions of the field. But I don't know.
Isn't that what the Yankees were trying to do? And then they signed 2 huge sluggers?
Well, the Yankees should have more left-handed
Lefties,
hitters,
right?
but they don't. Like they should be, signing a left-handed hitter, and with a sweet swing, putting it over the short porch. And some lefties that have been on the Yankees have really done well because of that. But yeah, the Yankees, their power hitters are righties right now. When Judge has success is when he goes opposite field. Because there's a shorter porch out there. So anyway, I take it off the topic, but we were talking about like dimensions of the field and stuff. That I've always been, it's been crazy about like baseball. How is it that one stadium is different than the other stadium is different than the other stadium? Detroit, where the Tigers play, center field is so far, and Houston had that like ramp that went up in the outfield. Like you got to run up the field. It's crazy stuff. So
Didn't Miggy Cabrera broke a record yesterday, right?
I believe, even though he's batting under 100, I believe he's a compiler of stats here, and I think he has more hits now than Babe Ruth. Which, by the way,
wow,
that sounds like a huge thing, but Derek Jeter was the first Yankee to ever get 3,000 hits. So we didn't really they didn't really compile the stats and the whole deal like that. Like, oh, let's keep getting hits. Ruth was not a hit compiler. Remember, in the beginning of his career as a pitcher, his hits were home runs, and so they weren't. It's a great stat. Obviously, you pass Babe Ruth on anything, that's fine. But there are plenty of people who have more hits than Babe Ruth in the game of baseball. Like Rafael Palmeiro was not thought of as like the greatest player of all time. Also, steroid issues, but he had over 3,000 hits. He had more hits than Babe Ruth too. So, but yeah, I mean, it's noteworthy, obviously.
I was watching the NBA games, and there was a different aura about the games last night, and 2 games specifically. It was pretty good games last night. I'll start with my Sixers. I mean, they almost lost to a depleted Pelicans team, and the Sixers have had maybe one of the easiest schedules down the stretch, and they look putrid. And this, like teams think you could turn it on in the playoffs. You really can't. And with the East being so tight, I'm really, really worried about the Sixers. I don't think they're playing good ball at all. On the other hand, I watched the Jazz Nuggets game, and I also watched the Knicks Suns. The Knicks have had a really tough second half of the season. They play tough. But the Suns just turned it on. The Suns just turned it on in the second half and just blew them out. But what was cool about it is you saw this playoff intensity in the NBA. The teams were amped. Bojan Bogdanovic had like 45 points. He went off. But it was like teams were pumped. The bench was up. There was a ton of energy, and it felt like they feel that playoffs are right around the corner.
It doesn't surprise me that you like the Suns because I know you are a soccer fan. So I think
I don't like the Suns.
I think in the offseason, you might hear the Suns sign Neymar because he kind of fits in their like flopping mentality. You watched that game last night. Those guys are basically just flopping all over the place, trying to draw fouls and stuff. It's getting ugly. Yeah. So, but the Suns. But your point is 100% accurate. There is a different feel to the games. We're basically a week away, right? I mean, I think a week from Tuesday is when the play-in start. Like May 18th, I think is the play-ins start, and look, big blow for the Pelicans. They were on the outside of that play-in, looking up, and I think the Spurs maybe. But now Zion has a fractured finger, and he's not going to be playing. So you might have. We've been talking about how those play-in games. Who's going to last longer? Which one of our main guys going to be there? It looks like the Pelicans might not make the playoffs.
I don't think they have an excuse though. I don't think that with that talent on that team, they should be in the position that they're in. I think they in the West they should have been an 7, 8, or 9 seed. They've been in a lot of games in the fourth quarter, and I don't think it's fair to say that they're inexperienced anymore. Like Brandon Ingram's been in the game for forever. He's 26, 27 years old. Lonzo also he's been in the league. Like you got to find a way to win games. You have Steven Adams. You have a good team. So I don't feel bad for the Pelicans one bit. They've underachieved year after year after year. There's no excuses.
But I will give you someone backcourt.
Lonzo is a funny.
You love Lonzo.
He talks way too much trash for someone who's not that good. But I'm going to get right into my play. I love my play today. These come around every once in a while. It kind of reminds me of maybe a Tyler Hero play, but maybe a little bit earlier. So this guy was traded from the Chicago Bulls to the Washington Wizards. And since he's been on the Wizards, he's provided a spark like no other. And he's coming off the bench and putting up monster numbers, absolutely monster numbers. Okay. And it's a per 36 minutes is how I look at this. You guys know this. Rips has brought you this advice or insight from our first episode where he says evaluate players on per 36 minutes, especially if they're guys that, are slowly coming up, right? Because you're not going to get a ton of time in the beginning. You know who I'm talking about?
Michael Jordan.
Daniel Gafford. You know who that is?
Yeah, he was a rookie last year. Big man for the Bulls. He was one of those guys that I did not know last year, and the only reason I got to know him was because he seemed like he was in every pack of Prism I opened, and I'm like, this guy again, a Ruby.
He's
Wade,
everywhere.
Wow, there's a lot of Daniel Gafford cards out there. Mojo's signature of who? Gafford.
So my play, believe it or not, and this is why Star Stock is so perfect. I go in Star Stock this morning. I'm looking at cards, and his PSA 10 Prism is how much? How much do you think it is?
No clue. 50, 60, 70 bucks? I mean, I have no idea. PSA 10 Prism.
30.
Really? Wow.
Look at his face.
I don't think, I'm serious. I wouldn't think that with what's going on with PSA right now, anybody's PSA 10 would be $30 because I don't think you can get a PSA grade for $30 anymore. And he's in the league a year and a half and has already been.
I'm about to tell you his stats since the trade. It's insane. His stats
even with the Bulls, when he played, he had good numbers per minute. He just wasn't getting time.
And now he has the perfect guy with him. What does Russell Westbrook love to do? Run pick and rolls, and you have Bradley Beal stretching the court. Daniel Gafford has been perfect. I'm going to tell you his stats in a second. I've told you guys time and time again, use Star Stock as a hammer, as a tool. It's not for everything, but it's for some things, and you're going to get great deals. I think this is a great deal. Listen to these stats since the trade. 20.8 points a game, 4 blocks a game, a steal a game, 12 rebounds a game on 70% shooting. That's
how many minutes is he
numbers.
Actually getting, though? Was he only playing like 10, 12 minutes a game?
18 minutes per game.
All right. Well, so, I mean, half those stats is what his actual stats are per game. You got to figure he's coming in, giving. He
doesn't start any games either yet.
Yeah. I mean, is that a team in a lineup you think that next year he actually can start on and start doubling those numbers, start putting those numbers up similar to the PER? Yeah.
I think he'll have a double-double next year. I don't think he's going to average 20 points a game. But here's the thing. You guys know the Wizards put up like 150 points a game too.
Yeah.
So like these stats are going to be way more inflated. I don't think the market necessarily cares about. But I think it's a double-double guy. And I also think he's a great rim protector. 4 blocks a game. Yes, and for $30, I mean, I would put this guy up with being a better player than DeAndre Ayton. And you guys know DeAndre Ayton's cards are through the roof. I think DeAndre Ayton kind of sucks. I'm going to be honest with you. So, yeah, I think this guy's a diamond in the rough. You're able to get his cards cheap. And you go in Star Stock, you don't pay shipping, you don't pay taxes, you don't pay anything. You just get it transferred to your vault and you hold it. This card goes up double. Could this become a $100 card if he's a double-double machine next year? No question about it. And we've already heard that Modern's gotten beat up. So you're buying someone who has huge potential on the bottom of a market. I love these plays. I love these plays because
low risk, high reward, right? You saw what happened with like Kevin Porter Jr. cards. All you have to do is come out and have 1 or 2 good games, and everybody's talking about him. Boom, the card goes flying. Same kind of thing. This guy has one of those games where even just one game he puts up 20 points and 10 rebounds. People are like, okay, who's this? And the bottom, and then the floor gets moved right up.
One game, you're absolutely right, because this guy's already like all cards have been beaten down, and that's why people aren't looking at Modern. This guy shouldn't be this cheap. With these numbers, 1 year in the league, he's a rookie. So that's my play. I think it's a really, really nice play.
I like it because he's not cardboard relevant yet, but those are the good ones, right? You try to find somebody who's not cardboard relevant, but you think all it's going to take is 1 or 2 games, and he's clearly in the right situation to make that happen now. Got a bunch of guys who like to shoot, like to stretch. You need somebody in the interior to rim protect, be the beneficiary of those pick and rolls. I like it. I like the play. I may actually go look at some of them. I'm going to stay in the NBA, and I'm going to stay on the cardboard relevant topic, and I'm going to make this my cardboard relevant with Cage today also, a little overlap, because there's a lot that's going to go into this one, right? So this is a play. I want you guys to pay attention to kind of what goes behind it, and make your own decision on it, right? But Andrew and I started doing this back in July, and we're over 300 episodes, right? And when we started doing it, we literally just got on and said, let's record. Let's go. Let's give these guys value. Let's make our picks. Let's talk. Let's get everybody involved. Let's build up a community. And we didn't pay attention to, the minutia. We didn't pay attention to stuff that, hey, when we look back now at almost a year, it would have been nice if we were doing this, this, and that, right? And one of those things was, believe it or not, we didn't even keep track of our plays, right? Because we weren't doing these plays, these picks, things that we were talking about, so that we could one day flex and say, oh, look what we did, money, blah, blah, blah. Look how great you did. And it would be great to do that because, trust me, it provides some credibility to the hundreds of plays that each one of us have made, right? To be able to say to you guys, look, Andrew told you about this play. I told you hockey. Andrew told you about, buying. I can't even. There's like a dozen of them that come to the top of mind, right? All of the plays that he has told you to make, Acuna or whoever it may be, right? And so we started over the last couple of weeks to say, what, we should try to track that stuff. We should try to look back and see some of those plays that were made and see where we stand. That way, we can put some graphics up. You've probably seen some of them. Couple of Luca Nation members of ours have helped with this, actually, going back, re-listening, saying, hey, this was Cage's pick on this day. Oh, man, you got to listen to that. I wish I would have listened. I wish I would have been listening at the time and made that play that Andrew made. Oh, my God, it was so smart, and everything he said come true, right? So thank you to Luca Nation, for helping us do that stuff. And, you'll probably see some more graphics coming in the coming weeks about, some of the picks and some of the plays that we've made over the course of the year. It's fun to look back. But in doing so, I watched the game last night also. Dude. I watched the game last night, and I watched the Bulls game, right? So, obviously not playoff implications, right? But I like the Bulls. Well, because from cardboard perspective, the Bulls have a bunch of guys on their team. First of all, it's the Celtics, too. So I always like to watch the Celtics and see what the hell is wrong with them. But I watched the Bulls game. And I'm watching the Bulls. And
they play a lot of ISO ball, Cage, that's why.
Yeah, but I like watching Patrick Williams. I want to see how he's developing because that's a guy who could sneaky be a good play below that big three radar. You know what I mean? Like he's not in the Edwards, LaMelo, Halliburton talk. But he's just a notch below, and his prices are a notch below. But he could end up being the guy from that draft. I've always been a Kobe White watcher. I always like to watch what's he doing, how they playing him, you name it, because his cards are ones that you can kind of watch the patterns on. But my guy on that team. And I watched the game, and I said to myself, Zach LaVine, 26 years old, is one hell of a player. Like, he can get to the rim wherever he wants. He can play wherever he wants. And I remembered that I gave a play in, I think it was episode 34, right? I'm like, oh, wow, that's like almost 300 episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
It literally was in the last summer. And playoff basketball was coming. And I remember picking Zach LaVine and saying, LaVine's my guy, even though he's not even in the bubble. You should buy him for next season. And I went through all the reasons. And I said how I read an article, an interview with him, and he said he was going to make sure that in the coming year he was going to be an all-star, right? And the changes to the game that he was going to make and what he was going to do and blah, 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 and how he was hoping to average, more points and fill up his stat sheet. And I listened to that episode again last night. And everything that he said he was going to do, he's done, right? He's now averaging 27 and change points. He's over 5 assists, over 5 rebounds. So he's filling the stat sheet, right? A 27-5-5 guy. That's, it's pretty impressive. And he has started to take the ball to the rim more, draw some more fouls. That was one of the things he wanted to add to his game. He's an all-star, you name it. So I said, holy cow, I got to be able to use this one as a statistic, let's put up a shot. Let's find out what my play was and how much it was at the time, because now, almost a year later, LaVine has literally done every single thing he said he was going to do, and he's had a monstrous year. He was an all-star, right? I mean, this guy, by all measurements, has taken another leap in his career and is now one of those, talked about guys, right, in the league. And I looked at my plays, and it was by the Prism base in the 20s, the Prism 2014 Prism base in the 20s. And it was by the PSA Prism, PSA 10 for about $300. There were a couple, $290, a couple $310, you name it at the time. And I talked about all those. And I'm like, this is this is a great play. So I said, all right, the guy has done everything he's supposed to do. The team is on the upswing, right? They got a good young core. They got Patrick Williams on the mix now. Who knows what they're going to do next year? And he's going to be the team leader. He's going to be a perennial all-star. Next year, he'll take that 27, closer to 30 points a game. It reminds me of like a Devin Booker type that's going to be, it's just going to take one playoff run. It's going to take one of those, or Donovan Mitchell, or one of those guys that his prices aren't there yet, but once his team starts to move into the playoff picture, people talk about maybe it's not the same kind of player, but maybe like Joker. You know what I mean? A guy who puts it together, but needs that 1 year where his team is great, you name it, and all of a sudden, cardboard relevant, right? So I look at the prices, and I said, I can't use this. His prices are legit exactly the same right now as where they were when I did that episode almost 300 episodes ago. So I said to myself, Zach LaVine is a perfect cardboard relevant talking point because he's obviously relevant on the court. He's obviously an all-star. I mean, he's obviously one of those players that is, wow, look at this guy, high flyer, shooting the three better than he ever did, right? He's running a team offense better than he ever did. He literally can get to the rim, do a cartwheel, somersault in the air, and dunking. He has basically all the boxes you want to check, right? It's exciting to watch.
27 points a game, 85% from the free throw line.
Right? Yeah, 85.
Yep. 57% from 2-point range and 40% from three. 5 rebounds a game, 5 assists a game. Not a ton of turnovers either, only 3.
No. I mean, and listen, he still has to draw more fouls. That was what we talked about coming into this game because I'm not talking about Harden style, right?
That's right. He only has 5 fouls a game, 5 foul shots a game.
So that was if you listen to my episode, that was the one thing I said he needed to do because that will get him into 30 points a game instead of 27. If he adds in 4 or 5 foul shots a game, he's now averaging 30 instead of 27, and that's rarefied air for somebody, right? And what does that mean? 2 more drives, 2 more fouls. He's got to draw 2 more fouls a game, and he's averaging 30 points. So that's not a huge thing to do, but it is one of the things we talked about in that episode. But the point here is not everybody who's relevant on the court is cardboard relevant. But I'm not ready to give up on LaVine yet. But I'm also not telling you to buy him today, right? Because in a couple of days, he's going to be gone again. He's not going to be on there beating the Celtics. He's not going to be dropping, 3-pointers in Tatum's eye, right? He's going to be gone. No one's going to be talking about him. And the playoffs are going to be going on, and people are going to be talking about everybody else in the league, right? And then there's going to be an off season. I say a couple weeks after the playoffs end, you might be able to get the LaVine Prism base raw or PSA 10 cheaper than what I was recommending it at in episode 34. And he has gotten significantly better than where he was there. The team has gotten better. He's got better pieces around him. He's got a big man there. He's got a better team. And it's a team I think next year is contending for the playoffs. It's a team I think that will be on the upswing. And I think the Cards will be on the upswing because of it. I think he has a shot to become cardboard relevant. And you have a shot to get in on his cards before that happens. So I just thought of it. I'm like, wow, it's amazing, right? Because that cardboard relevant, I've now said it like a dozen times, it really is a thing. Because I was shocked. I went back and I'm like, how have his cards not gone up from where they were literally before the season? He's had an amazing season. Look at the stats Andrew just read off for you. But it didn't matter to his prices. What do you think?
It's a great place to wrap. Man.
Yeah, man. I mean,
we have an exciting week ahead. We're going to be announcing a few different partnerships. We're working with StarStack, a whole bunch of amazing stuff. We've added content creators to our team. So if you're interested in working with us on building something special, feel free to reach out. We're always looking for people. Like Cage said, people from the community have reached out and are cataloging our plays, kind of going into the past and putting them in an Excel spreadsheet. So thank you. Scott DeFaselli is one that comes to mind. Thank you for doing that for us.
The crew.
Anything else, Cage, before we wrap and enjoy our weekend here?
No, man. Listen, it's a fun week in sports coming up. No, I can't do soccer.
You're a fun guy.
There. But listen, I'm excited for basketball. And if I'm excited for basketball, I'm not like a huge basketball guy. I like basketball. I'm excited that playoff basketball's coming because clearly what it means is now it's relevant. You know what I mean? You watch the basketball games and it's like, all right, these games are going to start very soon to mean something. And usually when the games mean something, it has an impact on the cards. So I'm excited for that. Nothing?